Hey Ralph, welcome to GAC RMHC Golf Classic. Just want to give you an opportunity here to view your swing at regular speed. We'll let that play on through, put you back in your dress position, and we'll go ahead and take a look at a few things for you. So while we got you back here in your setup, let's first of all take a look at your posture. See your spine is nice and straight and on a slight tilt. Legs come down into a nicely unlocked position. Arms hang down nice and naturally in front of you. Club works out to the ball, so achieving some pretty solid posture there in association with really good balance as well. Let's go ahead and also take a look at your alignment. See your feet aiming in this direction here. Carry that out towards the fairway. Now, theoretically, club face is supposed to run parallel to your feet. Parallel lines on camera would have an appearance to converge. And under that philosophy, we can see you're set up maybe a little bit to the left side of the fairway there. Almost working its way over towards, there was two bunkers there, so maybe the one on the right. So might be aiming just a little bit open, a little bit to the left. Let's go ahead and do a little split screen comparison here between you and Jordan Spieth. We'll just slide you over here a hair. Now we got some color-coded lines on the screen just to use as a visual reference as it pertains to swing plane. We can see with Jordan, as he initiates his takeaway, creates good shoulder rotation. Bringing the arms and hands back as well as the club, and we can see the club coming back on plane directly along the red line. Through the early stages of the golf swing, we also want to incorporate some wrist hinge into play where we're going to transition the club head from currently being below and in front of our hands to transitioning to being above and behind our hands. Very important move here, all the while keeping that club shaft on plane. From here, we want to work the golf club from red up towards the blue-yellow V zone. When we finally set the club at the top, we want to have the left arm of the club situated either on the yellow line, anywhere within the blue-yellow V zone, or physically up on blue as we see with Jordan Spieth. We also want to create full shoulder rotation. We want to do this about a very stable right leg, all the while maintaining our posture that we achieved at address with our spinal axis. Let's go ahead and watch you initiate your takeaway here. Draw your hands back very, very nicely, turning your shoulders. Club has a tendency of moving underneath slightly of the swing plane. And the club face is remaining perhaps a little bit closed through this section of the swing. Hopefully we start to see some wrist cock here, so the club sort of recovers, which we do. That's great. Club still very closed. Continue to create that hinge, working to the top. As we work this golf club to the set position, I like where you set the golf club. You have good shoulder rotation, stable right side, maintaining your posture, rotating off the axis that you achieved. Arm geometry looking really good relative to your core. Setting the left arm pretty much right on that yellow line. Club's in good position relative to the arms, but the club face is closed. So one of the things I'd take a look at, obviously with you, right at the get-go, make sure, one, that the driver's resting on its back sole and we're not closing the face. And then the other thing is, for sure your right hand grip is not too strong. I'm not referring to a pressure standpoint, I'm referring to positioning standpoint. But we might have to look at your left hand. Your left hand grip might be a little bit strong, and that might be what is producing this slightly closed club face during your backswing. So I'm just a bit concerned only because you are aiming a hair left, and we got the face of the club shut. So as we come into the ball, that's not a good combination. We're already aiming left and we got a closed face. So there's a good chance that we might miss this golf ball left unless we really hang on with our hands through impact and almost block the ball out on line. So let's get a sense and see what you do with your transition. Obviously what's supposed to happen is we're supposed to take our weight from our right foot to our left, fire the knees and the hips laterally to the target, unwind the core, fire the hands. And in doing so, we want the golf club to move from wherever we set it within that blue-yellow V zone, get the golf club to return back onto red. And at this point in time, we can see that's exactly what's happened with Jordan Spieth. The golf club has returned right back onto plane. The other thing I want to point out at this stage of the golf swing is the relationship between the lead forearm and the golf club. I refer to this as the backwards check mark. This simply means the club head right now is remaining above and behind his hands coming into the hitting zone. And this is what's going to give him a lot of power in his golf swing, let alone also his ability to hit the ball straight, as we've already noted that the club has returned back to plane, which is a main criteria in order to produce straight golf shots. So let's see how you do with your transition back into the ball here. Hands drop really nicely. Retaining the angle with the golf club looks great. Let's go on the next frame. There we go. So, I mean, at this point in time, we can take a look and say, hey, here's our lead forearm. Here's a club. We have our backwards check mark, creating some power, and the golf swing will not be an issue. My only concern right now is that the golf club is not returning close enough back to being on plane. Okay? And the club shaft's coming into the ball a little steep. So we can see here the club shaft is coming in at about 51 degrees, whereas Jordan Spieth's club is at around 34 or so. Okay? So shaft angle is a lot more shallow coming into the ball than yours. That's allowing the club head to return back onto the address plane, which again, as I've stipulated, is really the main criteria why we hit straight golf shots on a consistent format. So if we continue to track your club head coming in the ball, let's go to the next frame. I think you're really going to hang on and fight to keep this club head behind your hands. And you do. So this is beautiful right here. Again, club hasn't fully returned to plane, but you're really fighting to keep that club head in behind your hands. And let's go to the next frame. So at this point in time, club drops down nice, but the reality is if we take a look, we're just ever so slightly on top of that plane. So this may cause us to just sort of pull across the ball a little, and obviously that might be quite common due to the fact that we are aiming left as well. So again, my only concern here is if we pull this club a little bit across the ball, aiming a little left, club face was a little bit closed coming back. Again, potential might be to miss this ball a little bit left. So again, we can see with Jordan Spieth, if we want to be consistent and hit perfectly straight shots, club has to return to plane, and club has to approach the ball from this red line. And when we do that, we can hit a straight golf shot in accordance to our alignment. Assuming, lastly, that the club face squares up via having a good grip. So let's go ahead and take a look at the pass of the club here. We can see with Jordan that his club's more inside the ball, expanding out to make contact. Moves through in a nice, natural, subtle arc. Your club's a little bit too much directly behind the ball. Let's see where it goes in the next frame here. How aggressively does it go to the left? So not bad, actually. You force your hands out in front of you. So that's actually a good job right there. So basically what we can see is the club's sort of moved here to here. So that should allow you to block the ball out to the right a little bit. So the main concern here really becomes now the club face. And so let's go ahead and actually, we don't even need Jordan up here. It looks like you're going to move through to good finish and create good footwork. So let's take him off. Let's get rid of these lines. And let's just sort of look at your club face here through impact. So club face looks like it's shutting down. Again, club face was closed going back. A little closed at impact here. And the ball is definitely heading left. So we can basically see the ball right at the point of that arrow. So the ball's heading in the direction of where you're aiming. It wasn't really going in the direction of where you're swinging because you really pushed that golf, even though the club was slightly on top of the plane, not that big of a deal, but you really forced the club not to go left through impact. So you're really fighting to push the club out or the ball out in this direction, which is good because that's counterbalancing the fact that your feet were going to left. So why is the ball heading down the red arrow? Well, again, it's because the club face is closed. So only concern is maybe that with that club face being closed, it's going to impart a little bit too much right to left spin on the ball. Ball's heading in the direction where you're aiming with a little right to left spin. There's just no way that ball's going to be able to sort of gracefully fade back online. So, I mean, overall, you've got a really great looking golf swing. Your hands work tremendous. They come back, they fire through. Your core works well. You coil, you uncoil. You got good footwork allowing you to get through to a good finish. Your posture, your balance looks great. Again, if we want to be consistent, there's three things we need. We have to aim well, meaning we have to run our feet parallel left of our target. Club has to come down on plane, and the club face has to square up. Unfortunately, you're just minorly off on all three of those. Your aim is a little bit to the left. Your downswing plane comes a hair over the top, and then your club face is a bit closed. So When we look at those three aspects that produce straight golf shots and consistency, because you have subtle, fine variances from what we should have, they're going to produce different golf shots, and you're going to create a little bit of inconsistency from your left to right tendencies. Okay, but nonetheless, golf swing looks superb, super athletic motion, looks great, and you're going to hit some great quality golf shots at times for sure. But then you're going to hit some shots that are wayward and maybe not understand exactly why, and that's why. Your alignment's a little bit left, downswing plane's just a hair on top, and the club face through pretty much the entire swing was a little bit closed. Okay? Anyways, if at any point in time you ever want to work on fine-tuning any of these aspects of your golf game, I'm over at Glen Abbey in Oakville. Be happy to structure a little program for you. Also, if you're involved with any golf tournaments at all, and you guys are looking for a unique gift to provide to your guests, feel free to touch base. I'd be happy to discuss my swing analysis services with you. Anyways, I hope you had a fantastic day, and I hope you enjoyed getting an opportunity to see your swing on video.